Live. Yay. Songs of the Gopis, Part 2. Live. Yay. Okay, there's the book. And share the screen. Mr. Singh, will you be available to read after Nanda Patni?
No, I'm just gonna hear.
Okay, and whatever works for you. Thank you for joining us. Okay, it may be asked herein how Krishna seated himself beside so many gopis and yet sat alone. There is a significant word in this verse, Ishvara, as it is stated in the Bhagavad Gita, Ishvara Sarvabhutanam. Ishvara refers to the Supreme Lord as the Supersoul seated in everyone's heart. Krishna also manifested this potency of expansion as Paramatma in this gathering with the gopis. Krishna was sitting by the side of each gopi, unseen by the others. Krishna was so kind to the gopis that instead of sitting in their hearts to be appreciated in yogic meditation, he seated himself by their sides. By seating himself outside, he showed special favor to the gopis, who were the selected beauties of all creation. Having gotten their most beloved Lord, the gopis began to please him by moving their eyebrows and smiling, and also by suppressing their anger. Some of them took his lotus feet in their laps and began to massage him. And while smiling, they confidentially expressed their supposed anger and said, "Dear Krishna, we are ordinary women of Vrindavan, and we do not know much about Vedic knowledge, what is right and what is wrong. We therefore put a question to you, and since you are very learned, you can answer it properly. In dealing between lovers, we find that there are three classes of men. One class simply receives. Another class reciprocates favorably, even if the lover is very contrary. And the third class neither acts contrary nor answers favorably in dealings of love. So out of these three classes, which do you prefer, or which do you call honest?" In answer, Krishna said, "My dear friends, persons who simply reciprocate the loving dealings of the other party are just like merchants. They give in loving affairs as much as they get from the other party. Practically, there is no question of love. It is simply business dealing, and it is self-interested or self-centered. Better the second class of men who love in spite of the opposite party's contrariness. Even those without a tinge of loving affairs are better than the merchants. Sincere love can be seen when the father and mother love their children in spite of their children's neglect. The third class neither reciprocates nor neglects. They can be further divided into two classes. One is the self-satisfied, who do not require anyone's love. They are called Atmarama, which means they are absorbed in the thought of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and so do not care whether one loves them or not. But another class are ungrateful men. They are called callous. The men in this group revolt against superior persons. For instance, the son, in spite of receiving all kinds of things from loving parents, may be callous and not reciprocate. Those in this class are generally known as Guru Druha, which means they receive favors from the parents or the spiritual master, and yet neglect them. Krishna Chandra.
Krishna indirectly answered the questions of the gopis, even those answers which implied that Krishna did not properly receive their dealings. In answer, Krishna said that he, as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, is self-satisfied. He does not require anyone's love, but at the same time, he said that he is not ungrateful. My dear friends, Krishna continued, you might be aggrieved by my words and acts, but you must know that sometimes I do not reciprocate my devotees' feelings with me. It appears that my devotees are very much attached to me, but sometimes I do not reciprocate their feelings properly in order to increase their love for me more and more. If I can very easily be approached by them, they might think Krishna is so easily available. So sometimes I do not respond. If a person has no money, but after some time accumulates some wealth and then loses it, he will think of the lost property 24 hours a day. Similarly, in order to increase the love of my devotees, sometimes I appear to be lost to them. And instead of forgetting me, they feel their loving sentiments for me increase. My dear friends, do not think for a moment that I have been dealing with you just like ordinary devotees. I know what you are. You have forsaken all kinds of social and religious obligations. You have given up all connection with your parents. Without caring for social convention and religious obligations, you have come to me and loved me, and I am so much obliged to you that I cannot treat you as ordinary devotees. Do not think that I was away from you. I was near to you. I was simply seeing how much you were anxious for me in my absence. So please do not try to find fault in me. Because you consider me so dear to you, kindly excuse me if I have done anything wrong. I cannot repay your continual love for me, even throughout the lifetimes of the demigods and the heavenly planets. It is impossible to repay you or show gratitude for your love. Therefore, please be satisfied by your own pious activities. You have displayed exemplary attraction for me, overcoming the greatest difficulties arising from family connections. Please be satisfied with your highly exemplary character, for it is not possible for me to repay your debt.
Nanda Patni, before you go, you continue on. I just wanted to show, I just researched before we started, and this is the painting I found that goes with this section.
Mm-hmm. Very sweet.
Does anyone remember what we were reading about this section?
What,
Krishna-
just
Yeah. Go ahead.
yeah, I think they all felt that they were with Krishna on their own.
Mm-hmm.
And that also he is super soul in the heart, but he appeared beside them. I thought that was interesting. And that he never feels that he can repay the magnitude of their love for him.
That's a famous verse. I don't know if it's repeated twice or three times. But it's, the Sanskrit is parayi ham, something like that, that I am unable to, that you'll have to be satisfied with your devotional service, because there's nothing, there's no way I can, the only way I can reciprocate with, the greatest way that I can reciprocate with you is by giving you more devotional service. That's the greatest thing.
Yeah, it reminds me of the last verse of the Shikshastakam, you know, whether you handle me roughly by your embrace or leave me brokenhearted by not being present before me.
Okay, we'll come back. I just thought it was good timing to show this gorgeous painting.
It's a good one.
Krishna reciprocating with each gopi in the special way that she wants to be loved by Krishna. Okay, so you just, okay, good. So you start there. Oh, wow, you finished the chapter. Okay, sorry, go ahead.
The exemplary character of devotional service manifested by the devotees of Vrindavan is the purest type of devotion. It's enjoined in the authoritative Shastra that devotional service must be a haituki and apratiyata. This means that devotional service to Krishna cannot be checked by political or religious convention. The stage of devotional service is always transcendental. The Gopis particularly showed pure devotional service towards Krishna, so much so that Krishna himself remained indebted to them. Lord Chaitanya thus said that the devotional service manifested by the Gopis in Vrindavan excelled all other methods of approaching the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Thus ends the Bhaktivedanta purports to the 31st chapter of Krishna, songs by the Gopis.
That famous verse there from the first canto. Savai pung sang paro dharmo. Remember that? Ahetuki
Yes.
pratita. Savai pung sang paro dharmo. Yato bhaktir at hoksaje. Ahetuki apratihata. Ye yatma suprasidati.
Is that the Gita?
No, that's the Srimad-Bhagavatam first canto. That devotional service must, in order to perform pure devotional service, it must be a haituki and it must be a pratyata, meaning without any ulterior motive, what's that verse? It's in the Nectar of Devotion. Da anukulyena krishnanushilanam bhaktir uttama.
Uttamam.
Uttamam or uchate?
I can't remember. Yeah.
Anya bilashita shunyam jnana karma dyanavritam. And then?
I always I know them when they're being spoken.
Bilashita shunyam jnana karma anavritam.
Isn't that
Jnana karma anavritam. Anukulyena. That's the last line. Can you look that one up for us, please, Krishna Chandra? Anya bilashita shunyam jnana karma anavritam. But it's on the tip of my tongue. On both of our tongues.
Wait.
Anya bila shita shunyam.
Wait.
Anya Anya bhi Anya bilasitam LASITAM.
Is it Anya Bhilashita Sunya Jnana Karma Anavritam?
Yes.
Okay, I found it. I found a reference to it. I just need to attach it to something. Let me just
It's Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, but I forget the exact number.
Right. At least I found somebody writing about it. Let me just
Krishnanushilanam.
Sorry, I'm a bit slower than usual today. For that, I apologize.
I can look it up if you can't get it. Anyway, it's not so important.
Yeah. Okay.
Whenever you find it. Yeah, in order to have that pure bhakti, savai pung sang paro dharma, the topmost dharma, to have that, savai pung sang paro dharma, yato bhaktir adhoksaje. Adhoksaje means that who's beyond the material senses, right? What is it again? Savai pung sang paro dharma, yato bhaktir adhoksaje. I really need to brush up on my sloks. They're not coming like they used to because I'm rusty. Savai pung sang paro dharma yato bhakti
something.
Ye not ahaituki apratiyata ye not ma suprasidati.
I mean, they merge into other ones.
Yeah, ahaituki apratiyatam ye not ma suprasidati. Yeah. The topmost dharma is I don't remember the word for word exactly, but the gist of it is that pure devotion has to be without any interruption. As you were saying, as one great god sister of mine said to me the other day, you can even be living in a little apartment all by yourself, far away from everybody, and that's still not an impediment.
There's no
Prabhu, I think it's I could be wrong. I think it's Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu 1:1:11.
Yes. Yeah, that's it. Go ahead.
Oh, go ahead.
Anya bilashita shunyam jnana karmadyanavritam.
Yeah, I'm just basing it on what I just found on Google. I'm struggling because I'm doing it on my phone.
Okay. I thought you found it. Excuse me.
No, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to disappoint.
Okay, let's just go on so we don't keep interrupting. So yeah. So here I'm going to the Bhagavatam itself, which the Krishna book is based upon, and the closing verses are that Krishna says, "But the reason I do not immediately reciprocate the affection of living beings, even when they worship me, O Gopis, is that I want to intensify their loving devotion. Mm-hmm. They then become like a poor man who has gained some wealth, and then they lost it, and who thus becomes so anxious about it that he can think of nothing else." And it's explained that in the Bhagavad Gita, we know that verse, chapter 4, what verse is it now? 11, right. Ye yatamang prapadyante tangstraiva ajami aham. As people approach me, I reciprocate with them accordingly. Mm-hmm. So if the Lord is approached with someone with devotion, to intensify that devotee's love for the Lord, the Lord may not reciprocate. He may not immediately reciprocate fully, because that's his prerogative, right? I mean, I'm sure you've had that experience, Nanda Patni, knocking yourself out on book distribution sometimes, and sometimes the results just didn't come, even though you were really, really endeavoring, and that forced us to pray even harder, like, Krishna, what's going on? Like, is it because I'm too puffed up, or, like, why aren't you giving me the result? I'm trying. So in fact, the Lord is truly reciprocating. After all, a sincere devotee always prays to the Lord, "Please help me to love you purely." Therefore, the Lord's so-called neglect is actually the fulfillment of the devotee's prayer. Lord Krishna intensifies our love for him by apparently separating himself from us. And the result is that we achieve what we really wanted and prayed for: intense love for the absolute truth, Krishna. Thus, Lord Krishna's apparent negligence is actually his thoughtful reciprocation and the fulfillment of our deepest and purest desire. According to the Acharyas, as Lord Krishna began to speak this verse, the gopis looked at one another with squinting eyes.
Sorry.
Trying to hide the smiles breaking out of their faces. Even as Lord Krishna was speaking, the gopis had begun to realize that he was bringing them to the highest perfection of loving service. Interesting, isn't it? Can't hear you, Nanda Patni. I think you're on mute. Or is it because you're talking to someone? Is that why we can't hear you, Nanda Patni?
Sorry.
Were you talking to us?
No.
Oh, okay. You're on the phone. Okay,
Prabhu. Can I just say something for just a second?
Yeah.
The verse you were looking for, I found it. It's in the Madhya Lila. He quoted it.
Perfect. Please read it.
I put it in chat if you want to look at it.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah.
Oh no, we have to go there. We have to click on that and open another window.
I mean, you could open it in your own and then if you want to share it with the rest of us, you can.
I'm not sure what's going to happen to my screen if I click on that. Okay, I thought you had the verse actually. So I mean,
I mean, I do have the verse. It's quoted from Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, and it's also in the Madhya Lila.
I realize
And-
that. Yeah. I was hoping you'd quote it.
Quote it. Oh, quote it. Oh, I mean, you want me to
Yeah.
read it? I
Yeah.
don't understand. Okay,
Please.
fantastic. Yeah, I could do that. Yes, of course. Okay. Anya hila shita sunyam jnana karmadi anavritam anukulyena Krishna Krishnanu Shilanam Bhaktir Uttama.
Okay, that's what we were missing. Anukulena?
Krishnanu.
Anukulyena or Anukulena?
Anukulyena
Anukulyena Krishnanu Shilanam.
Shilanam Bhaktir Uttama.
Tamam.
Translation: when first-class devotional service develops, one must be devoid of all material desires, knowledge obtained by monistic philosophy, and fruit of action. The devotee must constantly serve Krishna favorably as Krishna desires. Then there's a purport. I don't know if you want to read it or not.
How long is it?
It's 2 large paragraphs.
It's up to you.
I can do it if you don't object. I'm fine. I can do it. Shall I go on?
Yeah, what chapter is this? What's the pastime?
Well,
What
it's
Chaitanya's teachings to Rupa Goswami?
Madhya Lila, chapter 19, text 167. I'm not quite sure what's going on.
Just go ahead.
Okay. This verse is also found in Srila Rupa Goswami's Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. As we can understand from Bhagavad Gita 934 and 1865, the Supreme Personality of Godhead wants everyone to think of him always. Manmana bhava mad bhakta. Everyone should become his devotee, not the devotee of a demigod. Everyone should engage in devotional service or archana, deity worship in the temple. Manmana bhava mad bhakto mad yaji mam namaskurum. Everyone should offer obeisances from moment to moment to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. These are the desires of the Supreme Lord, and one who fulfills his desires favorably is actually a pure devotee. Krishna wants everyone to surrender unto him, and devotional service means preaching this gospel all over the world. The Lord says openly in Bhagavad Gita 1869, Na chatasman man manushyesu kaschin me priya kritamaha. One should preach the gospel of Bhagavad Gita for the benefit of all. Bhagavad Gita is spoken by the Lord so that human society can be perfectly organized from all angles of vision, politically, socially, economically, philosophically, and religiously. From any point of view, human society can be reformed by the Krishna conscious movement. Therefore, one who spreads this philosophy of Krishna consciousness for the benefit of all conditioned souls in the universe is perfect in pure devotional service. The criterion is that a devotee must know what Krishna wants him to do. This can be achieved through the medium of the spiritual master, who is a bona fide representative of Krishna. Sri Rupa Goswami advises Ado Gurav Shrayam, one who is serious in wanting to render pure devotional service to the Lord, must take shelter of the spiritual master who comes in the disciplic succession from Krishna. Evam parampara praptam imam rajasayo viduhu. Without accepting a bona fide spiritual master coming in the disciplic succession, one cannot find out the real purpose of devotional service. Therefore, one has to accept the shelter of a bona fide spiritual master and agree to be directed by him. The first business of a pure devotee is to satisfy his spiritual master, whose only business is to spread Krishna consciousness. Yasya prasadad bhagavat prasadaha. If one can satisfy the spiritual master, Krishna is automatically satisfied. This is the success of devotional service. This is the meaning of the word anukulyena, that is, favorable devotional service to the Lord. A pure devotee has no plans other than those for the Lord's service. He is not interested in attaining success in mundane activities. He simply wants success in the progress of devotional service. For a devotee, there cannot be worship of others or demigod worship. A pure devotee does not engage himself in such pseudo-devotional service. He is interested only in satisfying Krishna. If one lives only for the satisfaction of Krishna, he does not have to accept this order or that order. One's only business should be to satisfy Krishna. This process is completely manifest in the activities of the Krishna consciousness movement. It has been actually proved that the entire world can accept devotional service without failure. One simply has to follow the instructions of the representative of Krishna. End of report.
Thank you.
No problem.
So to end this chapter, actually in the Bhagavatam, this section is entitled The Reunion. That's the actual title. And in the actual translation, at the very end of this chapter, Krishna is saying, "My dear girls, understanding that simply for my sake, you had rejected the authority of worldly opinion of the Vedas and of your relatives, I acted as I did only to increase your attachment to me. Even when I removed myself from your sight by suddenly disappearing, I never stopped loving you. Therefore, my beloved gopis, please do not harbor any bad feelings toward me, your beloved." And it's explained that the Lord is indicating that though the gopis were already perfect in their love for him, still to inconceivably increase their perfection and show an example for the world, he acted as he did. This is reminding me, when Prabhupada was about to depart and he was saying that he wanted to go around Govardhan, and some of the devotees were like, no, Prabhupada, you can't do that. You're going to leave your body. And others are saying, no, how can you tell Prabhupada what he can do or what he can't do? He can do whatever he wants. And then Tamal Krishna Maharaj went to Srila Prabhupada and said, Prabhupada, you're driving us crazy with love for you. And Prabhupada said that, yes, that's my duty. That's my responsibility. That's what comes to mind for me in reading these words of Krishna, that he's just increasing their intensity. And then at the very end, Krishna says, here it is. Yes, this is the famous verse. And actually, Shivaram, I'm looking at the Sanskrit. That's what, after hearing, I talked to Mahabhuti last night for 5 hours nonstop. And at the end, I heard his wife saying, "You were on for 5 hours." And I told him, you can tell your wife it's all my fault. Don't take the blame. But anyway, I was saying to him, I got inspired. I was thinking, it would be nice to have the Sanskrit actually handy as we go through some of these Krishna book stories, because it gives us just a little bit more, or maybe a lot more insight into the verses. So Shivaram Swami wrote a whole book based on this verse. And this famous verse is Na paraye ham niravadya samyujam swa sadhu krityam vibuddha yushapivaha yamabajan durjara geha srinkalaha samvrishya tadva pratiyatu sadhuna. So that this is the famous line, na paraye ham. Na means not. Paraye means I'm able to make. Aham, I am not able to repay my debt for your spotless service. Even within a lifetime of Brahma, your connection with me is beyond reproach. You have worshipped me, cutting off all domestic ties, which are difficult to break. Therefore, please let your own glorious deeds be your compensation. It's a beautiful verse, isn't it?
I'm sure it wasn't satisfying to them, though. Right?
You're thinking like a gopi in the body.
They would have been devastated by that. But I guess that devastation was also part of the fanning the increase. By the way, Hare Krishna, Nitya
Yes,
Leela.
Nitya Leela, Hare Krishna. Welcome, welcome. Obeisances to you. Pranams.
Pranams.
It actually, if you don't mind, Krishna Chandra, could you please look up Adi Leela, chapter 4, verse 180, because I wanted to cross-reference that. Adi Leela 4, 180, Chaitanya Charitamrita. In the purport, it explains that the translation and word meanings for this verse are taken from Srila Prabhupada's rendering to the Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita 4, 180, Adi 4, 180. In conclusion, the gopis became eternally glorious by their behavior in the Lord's temporary absence. And the mutual love between them and the Lord was wonderfully enhanced.
Mhm.
This is the perfection of Krishna and his loving devotees.
So this is a Vipralamba thing, right? Where it, it's Krishna is stirring the emotion.
Stirring the pot.
Yes, stirring the emotions. Right.
He's expert. What's his name? Rasa
Bihari.
Rasa Bihari.
Raj.
Rasa Raj, that's what I was looking for. Yeah. So did you find it, Krishna Chandra Prabhu? Can't hear you.
Yes, I found it. I'm sorry about that.
Could you please read that to us?
Of course. Na paraye ham niravadya sam yujam svasadu krityam vibudha vivaha ya mam hajan durjaya keha shrinkalaha samrichya tadvaha pratiyatu sadhuna. O gopis, I am not able to repay my debt for your spotless service, even within a lifetime of Brahma. Your connection with me is beyond reproach. You have worshipped me, cutting off all domestic ties which are difficult to break. Therefore, please let your own glorious deeds be your compensation. This verse from Srimad-Bhagavatam 10:32-22 was spoken by Sri Krishna himself when he returned to the gopis upon hearing their songs of separation.
Nanda Patni doesn't agree that this is adequate reciprocation from Lord Krishna to the gopis.
He's stirring the emotion. He's inciting Vipralamba.
Welcome, Shraddha Sindhu. Hare Krishna. Thank you for coming.
I was late a bit. Hare Krishna.
How's your son doing?
At home now.
Yeah.
Not going to school. Not going to school.
Homeschooling? We're giving him homeschooling?
Not yet. Just that they can choose whether to go or not to go to school. So I keep them at home first. Because if you go to school, they're going to ask you, of course, they give you a consent, whether parents allow their children to be swab tested. I don't know what's the reason that they need to be swab tested. So there's no point to be swab tested.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Thank you for protecting your son.
I hope Krishna will protect them. Krishna will protect them.
But Prabhupada said the closest thing in this material world to pure love is a mother's love for her child.
Thank you.
Yeah. So we can read a little more Krishna book, or we can go to Nectar of Instruction. What do you think we should do, Nanda Patni? The next chapter is the Rasa dance.
I'd love to read that.
Yeah, okay. Let's go. Let's go back here. And so since Krishna Chandra and I have been doing most of the talking, then Nanda Patni can be you, or we can go on to Nitya Lila as you like. What do you want to do, Nanda Patni? Do you want to
I'll
read?
read one more paragraph. I read one.
Oh, yes, you
paragraph.
only read one. You got shortchanged.
Let me.
Okay, let's go on to the next chapter here. Whoops, that's correct. Come on. It's not. Why is it not going on to the next chapter? The Rasa dance, introduction. Okay. I'm just wondering, have we read this chapter yet already?
I don't think so.
Are you sure?
There's something familiar about it, but yet I feel like we haven't. I'm conflicted.
Maybe it was introduction to the Rasa Leela or something like that. I'm just trying to recall because okay, we read Krishna and Gopis meet for the Rasa dance. We read anyway. It doesn't hurt if we read it again. That's for sure not.
Okay, so the Rasa dance introduction. In the Srimad-Bhagavatam, it's stated that the Rasa dance took place on the full moon night of the Sharat season. From the statement of previous chapters, it appears that the festival of Govardhan Puj was performed just after the dark moon night, the month of Kartik. And thereafter, the ceremony of Bhratvidya was performed. Then the wrath of Indra was exhibited in the shape of torrents of rain and hailstorm, and Lord Krishna held up Govardhan Hill for 7 days, up until the 9th day of the moon. Thereafter, on the 10th day, the inhabitants of Vrindavan were talking amongst themselves about the wonderful activities of Krishna. And the next day, Ekadashi was observed by Nanda Maharaj. On the next day, Dwadashi, Nanda Maharaj went to take bath in the Ganges and was arrested by the men of Varuna. And then he was released by Lord Krishna. Can you scroll up, Gora? Okay. And then Nanda Maharaj, along with the cowherd men, was shown the spiritual sky.
Nitya Leela.
So sorry. Is this the Rasa dance introduction, right?
Yes.
So
Yes.
we are sorry, I was searching a book. Actually, I haven't my laptop today, so I'm using phone. So I have book as well. Okay.
Are you able to read or no?
Yeah, from book. Yes. So in the sky, right?
In this way.
In this way.
Sorry, in this way. In this way, the full moon night of Sharat season came to an end. The full moon night of Ashwina is called Sharat Purnima. It appears from the statement of Srimad-Bhagavatam that Krishna had to wait another year for such a moon before enjoying the Rasa dance with the Gopis. At the age of 7 years, he lifted Govardhana hill. Therefore, the Rasa dance took place during his 8th year. From Vedic literature, it appears that when a theatrical actor dances among many dancing girls, the group dance is called a Rasa dance. When Krishna saw the full moon night of the Sharat season, he decorated himself with various seasonal flowers, especially the Mallika flowers, which are very fragrant. He remembered the Gopis' prayers to goddess Katayani, wherein they prayed for Krishna to be their husband. He thought that the full moon night of the Sharat season was just suitable for a nice dance, so their desire to have Krishna as their husband would then be fulfilled. The words used in this connection in the Srimad-Bhagavatam are Bhagavan Api. This means that although Krishna is the supreme personality of Godhead, He has no desire that needs to be fulfilled because he is always full of six opulences. Yet he wanted to enjoy the company of gopis. Bhagwan signifies that this is not like the ordinary dancing of young boys and young girls. The specific words used in the Srimad-Bhagavatam are Yoga Mayam Pasrita, which means that the dancing with gopis is on the platform of Yoga Maya, not Mahamaya. The dancing of young boys and girls within the material world is in the kingdom of Mahamaya, or the external energy. The Rasa dance of Krishna with the gopis is on the platform of Yoga Maya. The difference between the platforms of Yoga Maya and Mahamaya is compared in the Chaitanya Charitamrita to the difference between gold and iron. From the viewpoint of metallurgy, gold and iron are both metals, but the quality is completely different. Similarly, although the Rasa dance and Lord Krishna association with gopis appears like the ordinary mixing of young boys and girls, the quality is completely different. The difference is appreciated by great Vaishnavas because they can understand the difference between love of Krishna and lust.
Shuddha Sindhu?
Yeah, could you scroll up a bit? Yeah. On the Mahamaya platform, dances take place on the basis of sense gratification. But when Krishna called the gopis by sounding his flute, the gopis very hurriedly rushed towards the spot of Rasa dance with the transcendental desire of satisfying Krishna. The author of Chaitanya Charitamrita, Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami, has explained that lust means sense gratification and love also means sense gratification. But for Krishna, in other words, when activities are enacted on the platform of personal sense gratification, they are called material activities. But when they are enacted for the satisfaction of Krishna, they are spiritual activities. On any platform of activities, the principle of sense gratification is there. But on the spiritual platform, sense gratification is for the Supreme Personality of Godhead Krishna, whereas on the material platform, it is for the performer. For example, on the material platform, when a servant serves a master, he is not trying to satisfy the senses of the master, but rather his own senses. The servant would not serve the master if the payment stopped. That means that the servant engages himself in the service of the master just to satisfy his senses. On the spiritual platform, the servitor of the Supreme Personality of Godhead serves Krishna without payment, and he continues his service in all conditions. That's the difference between Krishna consciousness and material consciousness. It appears that Krishna enjoyed the Rasa dance with the gopis when he was 8 years old. At that time, many of the gopis were married because in India, especially in those days, girls were married at a very early age. There are even many instances of a girl giving birth to a child at the age of 12. Under the circumstances, all the gopis who wanted to have Krishna as their husband were already married. At the same time, they continued to hope that Krishna would be their husband. Their attitude toward Krishna was that paramount of love. Therefore, the loving affairs of Krishna with the gopis is called Prakya Rasa. A married man or a wife who desires another wife or husband is called Parakya Rasa.
Was that 2 paragraphs?
Yes.
Okay. I've got Krishna Chandra next and then Nitya Leela.
Sure.
Actually, Krishna is the husband of everyone because he is the supreme enjoyer. The gopis wanted Krishna to be their husband, but factually, there was no possibility of his marrying all the gopis. But because they had that natural tendency to accept Krishna as their supreme husband, the relationship between the gopis and Krishna is called Parakya Rasa. This Parakya Rasa is ever existent in Goloka Vrindavan, in the spiritual sky where there is no possibility of the inebriety, which characterizes parakya ras in the material world. In the material world, parakya ras is abominable, whereas in the spiritual world, it is present in the super excellent relationship of Krishna and the gopis. There are many other relationships with Krishna: master and servant, friends and friend, parent and son, and lover and beloved. Out of all these rasas, the parakya ras is considered to be the topmost. This material world is the perverted reflection of the spiritual world. It is just like the reflection of a tree on the bank of a reservoir of water. The topmost part of the tree is seen as the lowest part. Similarly, parakya ras, when pervertedly reflected in this material world, is abominable. When people therefore imitate the ras dance of Krishna and the gopis, they simply enjoy the perverted, abominable reflection of the transcendental parakya ras. There is no possibility of enjoying this transcendental parakya ras within the material world. It is stated in Srimad-Bhagavatam that one should not imitate this parakya ras, even in dream or imagination. Those who do so drink the most deadly poison.
When Krishna, the supreme enjoyer, desired to enjoy the company of the gopis on that full moon night of the Sharad season, exactly at that very moment, the moon, the lord of the stars, appeared in the sky, displaying its most beautiful features. The full moon night of the Sharad season is the most beautiful night in the year. In India, there is a great monument called Taj Mahal in Agra, a city in the Uttar Pradesh province, and the tomb is made of first-class marble stone. During the night of the full moon of the Sharad season, many foreigners go to see the beautiful reflections of the moon on the tomb. Thus, this full moon night is celebrated even today for its beauty. When the full moon rose in the east, it stained everything with a reddish color. With this rising of the moon, the whole sky appeared smeared by red kunkuma. When husband, long separated from his wife, returns home, he decorates the face of his wife with red kunkuma. This long expected moonrise of Sharad season was thus smearing the eastern sky.
So I would just like to take a moment to do a recap of what we've been reading here from the actual Bhagavatam itself. And Shukadev Goswami is explaining that when the coward girls heard that the Supreme Personality of Godhead spoke most charming words, they forgot their distress caused by separation from him. And touching his transcendental limbs, they felt all their desires fulfilled. There on the Yamuna's bank, Lord Govinda then began the pastime of the Rasa dance in the company of those jewels among women, the faithful gopis, who joyfully linked their arms together. The festive Rasa dance is commenced with the gopis arrayed in a circle. Lord Krishna expanded himself and entered between each pair of gopis. And as that master of mystic power placed his arms around their necks, each girl thought he was standing next to her alone. The demigods and their wives were overwhelmed with eagerness to witness the Rasa dance, and they soon crowded the sky with their hundreds of celestial airplanes. Kettle drums then resounded in the sky while flowers rained down, and the chief Gandharvas and their wives sang Lord Krishna's spotless glories. You can see how Prabhupada actually summarized this chapter, right? Because a lot of these details have not been included. It's very nice to hear them.
Yeah.
A tumultuous sound arose from the armlets, ankle bells, and waist bells of the gopis as they sported with their beloved Krishna in the circle of the Rasa dance. In the midst of the dancing gopis, Lord Krishna appeared most brilliant, like an exquisite sapphire in the midst of golden ornaments. As the gopis sang in praise of Krishna, their feet danced, their hands gestured, and their eyebrows moved with playful smiles. With their braids and belts tied tight, their waists bending, their faces perspiring, the garments on their breasts moved this way and that, and their earrings swinging on their cheeks. Lord Krishna's young consorts shone like streaks of lightning in a mass of clouds. So before Lord Chaitanya appeared, there was a great acharya by the name of Srila Sridhar Swami. And Srila Sridhar Swami makes a comment on this. He says that according to the analogy of lightning flashing in clouds, the perspiration on the lovely faces of the gopis resembled drops of mist, and their singing resembled thunder. So there's a word, agrantaya, meaning loosened. This would indicate that although the gopis began the dance with hair and belts tightly drawn, these things gradually slackened and loosened. And then the great Acharya Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, he comments that the gopis were expert at exhibiting mudras. I was thinking that if the gopis were dancing and their hands were moving in certain ways, then they must have been exhibiting these mudras. Does anyone know how many mudras there are? I don't know the whole science of mudras. I believe this is the Jnana mudra. And Prabhupada would speak sometimes with this gesture. Anyone know anything about mudras? I don't.
No,
I think if you learn Bharatnatyam dancing, you learn these mudras.
do that.
On internet, it says there are 399 mudras.
Hare Krishna, Shikarani, welcome back.
Hare Krishna.
Hi, 399 mudras.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yes. Close to 399 mudras.
Thank you for searching that. So, yeah, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, he comments that the gopis would dance with mudras. Thus, sometimes Krishna and the gopis would artistically move their interlocked arms together. And sometimes they would separate their arms and exhibit mudras to act out the meaning of the songs they were singing. Wow. I mean, this is so cool because, you think about, well, we shouldn't think about, but I mean, there's Bollywood dancing, right? And then there's Madonna type dancing, like there's a lot of like showbiz type dance, but they don't know this fine art of mudras, the very, the refinement of dancing and how with different gestures with the hands, you can tell stories with these mudras. It just shows you how refined Vedic culture is. So much deeper than just, body movements.
They
There's
also say that there is a particular mudra for every zodiac to do meditation also. So if they do the meditation in that mudra, it affects them more.
Wow.
Helps them more. Yeah.
Interesting. And it's also stating that Padanyasaha indicates that the gopis artistically and gracefully place the steps of their dancing feet in an enchanting way. And it's indicated that the romantic movements of their eyebrows, smiling with love, were most charming to behold. The next verse is, eager to enjoy conjugal love, their throats colored with various pigments, the gopis sang loudly and danced. They were overjoyed by Krishna's touch, and they sang songs that filled the entire universe. And that's very interesting that it says that according to an authoritative book on music, the Sangita Sara, it states that there are as many musical ragas as there are species of life. Wow. I knew there were a few hundred ragas, but this is saying there's 8,400,000. Gee, I'll have to get an earlier start on my music lessons. You and me both, Nandapatni.
Ever fresh.
How many scales are there in classical music? Do you know?
I don't know, 64 or something.
Really? Major and minor scales? And then there's harmonic minor and melodic minor? 64.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is 8,400,000. Wow. And it states that among these ragas are 16,000 principal ones, interesting, which were manifested by the gopis. Thus, the gopis created 16,000 different ragas or musical modes, and these have subsequently been disseminated throughout the world. The words yad gitendam avritam indicates that even today, devotees throughout the world sing the praises of Krishna, following the examples of the gopis. One gopi joining Lord Mukunda in his singing sang pure melodious tones that rose harmoniously above his. I see. So she was singing harmony to Krishna. Krishna was pleased and showed great appreciation for her performance, saying, "Excellent, excellent." I'm wondering if the word is sadhu. Yeah, sadhu, sadhu, Krishna was saying. Excellent, excellent. Then another gopi repeated the same melody, but in a special metrical pattern, and Krishna praised her also. It just goes to show that, music has its perfection in the glorification of Krishna. When one gopi grew tired from the Rasa dance, she turned to Krishna, standing at her side, holding a baton, and grasped his shoulder with her arm. The dancing had loosened her bracelets and the flowers in her hair. Upon the shoulder of one gopi, Krishna placed his arm, whose natural blue lotus fragrance was mixed with that of the sandalwood pulp, anointing it. As the gopi relished that fragrance, her bodily hair stood on end in jubilation, and she kissed his arm. Next to Krishna's cheek, one gopi put her own, beautified by the effulgence of her earrings, which glittered as she danced. Krishna then carefully gave her the betel nut that he was chewing. Another gopi became fatigued as she danced and sang, the bells on her ankles and waist tinkling. So she placed upon her breast the comforting lotus hand of Lord Achyuta, who was standing by her side. Having attained, as their intimate lover, Lord Achyuta, the exclusive consort of the goddess of fortune, the gopis enjoyed great pleasure. They sang his glories as he held their necks with his arms. Enhancing the beauty of the gopis' faces were the lotus flowers behind their ears, the locks of hair decorating their cheeks, and drops of perspiration. The reverberation of their armlets and ankle bells made a loud musical sound, and their chaplets, what's a chaplet? Their chaplets scattered. It doesn't say chapsticks, it says they're chaplets. I'm not sure what a chaplet is. And thus the gopis danced with the Supreme Lord in the arena of the Rasa dance as swarms of bees sang an accompaniment. Wow, isn't that cool? The bees were singing along as well. Anyway, I was just trying to read up to the part where it starts, continues with comparisons to the moon, but I'm not finding that here. So I'll just go back. I'll go back to the original Krishna book.
Can I share something?
Yes, please.
It's related, and it totally blew me away. I was finishing reading the second canto of the Bhagavatam, second canto, part 1. And in there, it's described that the sharing of the Vedic knowledge amongst devotees is non-different to the kisses in the Rasa dance.
Really?
Yeah. And when I read that, I just couldn't believe it.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's been a long time since I read the second canto. I don't remember that at all.
Early in the Bhagavatam, and it's such a profound, deep rasic statement right there, just boom, and it's a very profound thing when you think about it.
For sure.
It's an amazing statement.
Exchanging these Bhagavatam verses is like the kisses of the gopis.
Yeah, in the Rasa dance with Krishna.
That really increases our appreciation for reading together, doesn't it? puts everything in a whole different perspective.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, not, i.e., not to be taken lightly, you know, to be, you know, revered on that kind of a level, not to be taken for granted, not to be taken lightly.
Relished, just
Yeah.
as Krishna would relish the kiss of each gopi, so we can relish each paragraph.
Yeah.
So on that note, Sikarani, since you've not read tonight, I humbly beg of you, because I know just like Nitya Leela, you can be a very intense and fast reader, but this is too much nectar to digest too quickly. So please take a deep breath and slow down. Okay, because I'm thinking we didn't read any nectar of instruction last time. I would just like to stop here, if you don't mind, with this comparison to the moon, and go into the nectar of instruction, because we only have about 15 minutes left or so, if that's agreeable to everybody. Okay, so where are we? There we are. All right, so Shikarani, the agents of the Lord. We're still on the first verse of the Nectar of Instruction with the commentary by Srila Prabhupada's Godbrother Bhakti Rakshak Sridhar Maharaj.
You have not
Oh,
shared.
I have to share it. Duh. Okay.
First one is done.
Okay, what's going on? How come I'm not? Oh, there. Okay. Yeah, no, go ahead. First paragraph, the agents of the Lord.
The agents of the Lord are more powerful. If we really invite them, then the sadhus, the agents of the Supreme Lord, will come and drive away all these things. These demonic demonstrations on the surface of the mind will be driven away forever, and we will have happy engagement in the service of the Lord. We will be free from all these demonic masters. That is not a cheap achievement. Gradually, it will be controlled. If you want to hunt an animal, it takes some time to kill it. These anarthas are there, and to dispense with them, some time is necessary. But the energy to kill them, to remove them, should be gathered by us from higher sources. Then, with less energy, we can do away with them. Kiba se karite para, kama krodha sadha kare, yadi haya sadhu jnanara sangha.
Janara.
Janara Sangha. What can lust and anger do to the practitioner who takes shelter of saintly association? Prema
Okay, let's stop for a second. Nandapatni, do you want to say something? Are you there?
Yes, I am. I like
Yeah.
the analogy.
Excuse me, I'm sorry for interrupting you. We've been reading about, if we just go a little further back, yeah, we're talking about the Jiva Vegam, the urge of the tongue, the urge of the belly, the urge of the genital. And so, like, right, these are like, what did we read last time? It's like demons dancing on the mind, something like that.
Yeah.
Mind, yeah.
Yes. So go ahead.
Yeah, I was just that. What jumped out for me was this idea of hunting an animal. I mean, it's a very graphic image, which I think is quite useful, and that it takes some time to kill it. So, yeah, I mean, i.e., you can't just, you know, like if you're reading, you know, so many pastimes and things, you can't necessarily feel, you know, say that you're free from anarthas. It seems like it's quite a long process to become free from anartha. And to chant the Mahamantra purely is no mean feat. I mean, we hear that, yes, one can chant instantly, but actually to chant, you know, 16 rounds with you know, a level of purification, yeah, that's not an overnight achievement. It's like lifetimes of achievement.
Thank
Anyway.
you. Yes, go on.
No, that was it. Yeah.
I was just watching a bit of a National Geographic movie the other day, and it was somewhere in Africa. And there's this type of, it looks like kind of like a buffalo, but it's called a wildebeest or wildebeest.
Wildebeest, yeah.
And they all come to this cliff somewhere in Africa. Well, first of all, it shows the alligators. I guess it's alligators, not crocodiles. I don't know what do they have in Africa? Is it crocodiles or alligators?
Either or will do.
Okay. And so as the weather is getting hotter and hotter, the water is going lower and lower, the river water where the alligators are all hanging out, and they start like, bugging each other, getting in each other's way, and they're getting really hungry because there's not like a whole lot of fish. And then all these wildebeest come, these like oxens, but they're coming in like huge numbers, like hundreds and hundreds of them. They go like sliding down this like hill, and then they swim across the river to get to the other side, and the crocodile or alligator's there, and he's trying to get one of them, but they're moving so fast he doesn't get them. So I'm just comparing that example to our anartas. These anartas have been with us for so long, and they can be like these. I don't know if I can compare. I guess the crocodiles are more like the they're like the anarta. And the wildebeest is trying to escape from their clutches, right? And hundreds get by them. So, yeah, we have to deal with so many anartas, and how conscientious we have to be. And what you were just reading, or who was reading, on Sikarani, that with this saintly association, then lust and anger and there's the 6 enemies: Kam, Krodh, Lobh, Mada, Matsarya, and what's the 6th one? Kama, lust; Krodh, anger; Mada is madness; Moha, that's the one I left out, illusion or intoxication. And Matsarya is envy. Kam, Krodh, Lobh, greed. Yeah. Those are the 6 enemies that we have to overcome. Those are like anartas.
I mean, even Christians would say that the 7 deadly sins, remember?
Oh, what are those?
In the Christian faith.
Yes, what are they? Remember?
They're basically kind of synonymous with that. Yeah.
Okay.
Greed, envy, self-indulgence, degradation, that kind of thing. Yeah.
So best not to indulge in those, because we're just fortifying them, right?
This is Rasangi, and I'm driving, but
Jai Rasangi.
Haribol. I'm sorry, I was busy doing things, but I have heard that the only one of those sins that can't be dovetailed into service is envy. Have you ever heard of that before? Like the other things can be dovetailed in Krishna's service, but envy cannot. Whoa.
What about if it's describing? I remember Prabhupada making reference to how one gopi is seeing another gopi. Oh, she is serving Krishna so nicely. Now let me see if I can serve Krishna even better. Isn't that transcendental envy?
Yeah, I have to go back, and maybe Shamarani was with me when I heard that, but I thought that was poignant. Envy's pretty deadly. It's a damaging anartha. It's really a bad anartha. To envy, and you know what it is? It ends up, you're envious of God. You're envious, you know what I mean? You become envious of Krishna, of course.
Well, I think when we're envious of, if we're envious of one another, it's really a reflection of our envy to Krishna, isn't
it? Oh, yeah, envy of others. And you know what? Krishna's in charge of everybody else. They have their relationship, their path. Why should we be envious of anybody? Krishna's in charge of them. Our envy is ultimately wanting to be God, perhaps.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And wanting to be God means I'm in control. I'm the controller. I'm the proprietor.
Yeah, I know what's right.
Of everyone. I remember one godbrother saying to me one time on Facebook, he said, I got a lot more friends than you. And like I couldn't relate to that. I said, well, I'm happy for you. Like, okay. Like, so what? Like
Oh God.
I'm dumbfounded. I can't believe that actually happened.
Yep. Anyway, I just thought I'd share that. 'cause
thank
we're
you for
talking
that,
about this.
Rasangi.
Yeah.
Thank you. So you're not able to read, right, Rasangi? You're driving.
Yeah, I'm driving. I'm in bumper to bumper traffic.
Okay,
too.
so Nanda Patni, can we come back to you,
Okay.
please? What harm can lust, greed, and anger?
What harm can lust, greed, and anger do to a seeker of the truth who is on the path of divine realization if he can have the intimate association of a sadhu? In other words, they cannot do anything because something is being spent, but it is a side income.
How do you understand that statement?
Well, let's see if it's helped by the following sentence.
Okay.
If help is coming from the higher, then that supersedes the expenditure to the lower, and the lower thing
Okay.
not do any harm. Kam sadakare. And there is also koshala. Koshala means intelligent adjustment. We can get relief. In this regard, Narottam Das Thakur says, Kama Krishna, Karma Pane, Karma Bhakta Dveshi Jane, Loba Sadhu Sangha Hari Kata, Mohishta Labhebine, Mada Krishna Guna Gane, Niyukta Kariba Yata Tata. I will use lust in the service of Krishna, anger against those who are inimical towards the devotees, and greed for associating with sadhus and hearing Krishna Katha. I will become bewildered only when I cannot attain my worshipable Lord. Madness will manifest when I intensely glorify the divine qualities of Krishna. In this way, I will utilize all of these. Prema Bhakti Chandrika 210.
So
But he didn't.
there's a positive application of all. Pardon me, Rasangi?
But he did not say envy there. Huh?
That's correct.
Not yet.
That's correct.
Let's see.
Krishna Chandra Prabhu,
Yes, Prabhu. Shall I go on?
please.
Yes. Kama Krishna Karmarpane. Some impulse we feel within. Try to utilize that force and regulate it in the service of Krishna. Krodha Bhakta Dveshi Jane. Try to use anger toward those who are antagonistic to the sadhus, the Krishna Bhaktas. Lobha Sadhu Sangha. You may try to engage greed by hearing from the lips of the sadhu. Moha Ishta Labhebine. Sometimes depression comes. Try to utilize it when you are separated from the sadhu. Mada Krishna Gunagane. Sometimes overflowing energy appears within us.
Stop for a second. Stop for that. Rasangi?
Yeah.
Yes, you're a family counselor, and here it's talking about utilizing depression in the service of the Lord.
Yeah, that's
Moha
great.
Lababine. Sometimes depression comes. Try to utilize it when you are separated from the sadhu.
Right?
So how do you
Makes
understand
sense.
that? How do you
Well, it
understand?
makes sense. We don't turn to anything else. We take shelter of the Lord. You know, we try to understand what can I do? What am I supposed to learn from this? Dear Lord, you're the only one that can help me. You know, we take shelter of Krishna and not other things. You know, looking for solutions.
Well, that's then your experience as a counselor. It's when people are depressed, they tend to turn towards sense gratification, right? Drugs, alcohol.
Yeah. Oh yeah, and trying to problem solve in the world instead of taking shelter of the Lord, of God, of divinity. But some of my clients, you know, I mean, even Zen practitioners know that the solutions are not material. Even the impersonalists who practice Buddhism, they know it's spirit that helps heal. That we're material. No, we're spiritual beings having a material experience.
Right.
So they know that, so they don't turn to material solutions either. They go within, they turn to prayer, meditation, like that.
Mhm.
That's a lot of the clients I have. And others, of course, as you know, look to the madness, the drugs and alcohol, or even mundane, the medications, allopathic antidepressants, this and that
Yeah.
and the other thing
Yeah.
for solutions. But we are here to tell them that if they take shelter in divinity, they can find relief. And that's the only real relief anyway.
Right. Mhm.
So,
Eneche Oshodi Maya Nashi Barolagi, I've come to give you the medicine to wipe out all your illusion. Take this Harinam Mahamantra. There's nothing but the name in all the three worlds. Yeah. Bhakti Vinod.
right.
Krishna Chandra,
And
can you? Sorry, Rasangi, you wanted to say?
So it's a permanent solution. Not only will it solve your, well, when you're have $100, your dollar problems are solved, so to
Right.
speak.
Right.
So when you take shelter like that, not only are your mundane problems solved, your whole mundane existence is changed forever.
Mm-hmm. I got a bit of a glimpse from what you were saying. I'm not sure if you meant this, but the thought that came to me was, if we're depressed and we're struggling and suffering, the tendency may be to become absorbed in the problems of the world and try to, like Nanda Patni was talking about, how sometimes people get into being an activist, and that can be a kind of like a diversion for us to deal with our own depression, right?
Yeah, for sure. Mundane causes. I know it's like ridiculous. I know it's ridiculous for devotees to get involved unless you can do something about it. Maybe Tulsi Gabbard can do something. She's running in the political realm, and she's a Vaishnavi, which is lovely. We need them too. But if you can't do anything, what a waste of time to be spinning your wheels in that genre, in that atmosphere.
Yeah. Thank you. Krishna Chandra, could you finish the paragraph, please?
Yes.
Try to utilize it.
Right. Mada Krishna Gunagane. Sometimes overflowing energy appears within us. Engage that overflowing energy in dancing and chanting the name of Krishna. Nir Yukta Kariba Yata Tata. Try to regulate all these things in the service of Krishna. If you do this, you will be free from them in no time.
So, it's just a little bit after 9 o'clock here. Last time we had Mahabudhi Prabhu with us. It was quite a marathon session we had. We went till about almost 11:30 at night here. We started at 7:30. It was 4 hours. So it's tonight. He's speaking right now at this moment until 10 o'clock. And I forget exactly if it's Ananda Vrindavan Champu. Tonight is Ananda Vrindavan Champu. He's which is Pastimes of Krishna. I forget exactly who wrote Ananda Vrindavan. No, this is Gopal Champu. Gopal Champu, excuse me. Now I don't know how to get on this call. I don't know how do you do this? Does anyone know how this works? Shikarani, let's ask our digital guru here.
What happened?
What happened? If you look in the right-hand column, Mahabudhi gave us.
Are you still there?
Yeah.
Excuse me, Nandapani.
Voice is echoing. Somebody is using two devices at the same time for Zoom.
Okay. So the information is in the column there on the right-hand side that Mahabudhi Prabhu has a class on right now till 10 o'clock. So if anyone wants to go there, I'm just wondering, how do we do it? I'm Canadian. I don't have long distance phoning to America. What is this? How do you connect to that? Do you have to be in America?
Where is the information? You are not even sharing your screen.
Well, you don't have to. I don't have to share the screen to go into the chat.
In the chat, I don't see anything in the chat.
It's there.
Bhumipati, Prabhu class, it says.
In
You
Zoom chat, I don't see anything in
No,
our.
not, yeah, in our Zoom chat, in our chat.
Nothing is there.
Oh,
No,
that's really? Gosh.
Yeah, nothing is there.
You clicked on the chat box and you see nothing there.
Yes. No, nothing
Not-
is. Can you share again?
Okay, I'll copy it. There it is. Oh,
It
are you
looks,
still there?
yeah, it
Where
looks,
is everybody?
it looks like a conference call number, Sikarani. That's what we were wondering.
oh,
So is it telling that whether it's Zoom or it's what it is like?
It's not specifying what it is. He's just given a string of numbers.
That means you have to call by phone. But usually the conference number is free, so you shouldn't have.
So I don't know what's going on. Why can't I send this?
I don't know how you are trying to
I'm
send
putting it in the little box at the bottom and then I'm hitting return and it says our Singh is not in the meeting.
You are putting it in the chat box, right?
Yeah.
no.
In Zoom chat box.
Yes, I'm hitting chat and then
So are you copy pasting the
and
conference?
it says to our Singh. I don't want to send a message to our Singh.
Who is Arsing?
He was the person that was here earlier tonight, but he's gone.
Okay, so you select. Okay, so you select everyone. You are sending to one person. That's why it's not in the chat box.
I don't want to send it to one person. How do I send it to everybody?
Yeah, so in 2, there is an arrow. Click on that arrow. It will show the list of all the people. In that, just select everyone.
Everyone.
Yeah. In 2, just select everyone.
2? What do you mean by 2?
There is, so in the chat box, you see it's written like 2. Whom you are sending to, that person. There you have to select everyone.
TO colon. It's on the bottom. It's next to Mr. Singh's name.
Yeah. Just click on that name and you will see all.
Click on Singh's name.
Yes. Yes.
Everyone in meeting. Okay.
Ah.
Okay. Aha. Okay. There it is. There it is.
Use if you want to send to one person.
You see that?
And send to one person. You can chat. Okay. So this is kind of, yeah. So basically this is a phone number and you call this number. It should be free.
No, but I'm in Canada, for instance.
You can call and see
Can't
now.
call America.
You can call and see if the call is going or not. Just call and see.
Which number? There's 2 numbers here.
You have to call the whole number. So this number contains the number and the access code. So when you call this number, automatically it will basically dial the number. It will also take the access code and then it will connect you through. So just call this full number.
The 1602.
Full thing.
1
hash.
0
Till
2
the hash.
610
2084.
2084.
Just dial this and after that you put that access code and do hash.
Due to insufficient balance. To keep chatting, dial *611.
They say insufficient balance because it's a call to an American number.
Then you can't call.
That's right. I've had the same problem before. So only those of you that are in America, only can you do this.
Yeah. You can ask him. So tell him there is a app which is called free conference call. To use that app next time. It's a free app which he can. Yeah. That's what we used to use for RIT Bhakti Yoga.
Free conference call.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. He may know some workaround because I'm sure he has people internationally that also want to make this call.
A workaround?
Yeah, like some other way to access it without
I see.
the way
Okay. All right. Anyway, thank you very much, everyone, for coming, and we'll continue to make progress through the Krishna book on
Sure.
Wednesday.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. See you soon. Vanchakopa Trubhischa.
Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavibhyo Namo
Srila
Namaha.
Prabhupada ki jai, Nitai Gaur Premanandi, Hari Hari Bol.
Haribol.